Okay, so I invited you here today because
you love me?
because I love you.
Oh, good.
And we talked last time we were together. There was a clip. If we could just play it to refresh.
It really drives my vag when he has a pity party and doesn't think anybody likes him. He's not smart enough. He's not funny. Drives up my vag.
Well, Sarah, thank you for being so supportive. Men love that. When you're supportive, when we need you, when we're feeling vulnerable, when we're needing that support, especially from our spouse, it just really warms my heart to know that you're worried about your vaginal moisture when we really need that emotional support.
Yeah, he's
Thank
like,
you.
I'm not feeling like I'm valuable. I'm not feeling like I'm good enough. And she's like, ugh, my pussy's so dry. Shut up. So this clip, I mean, it took off like wildfire on Instagram. And every day, even now when I post this it's almost to 2 million views. And the men are just so, it really touched a nerve in men.
It rings true, first of all. That's why it's getting such traction. It rings true for men that men have been shit on for the last 15 years. They want to do good. They want to be appreciated. They want to know how to make women happy, amongst other things. And we're being told we're not worthwhile. We're toxic masculinity. Everything we do is somehow problematic, and we need to be more emotional and more like women. And so when we do that, look what happens. Look what happens. We become unattractive by being that way. I started fishing around on the internet today about this, and I sent myself an email of something somebody sent. Let me see. 6 ways men can become emasculation proof.
Emasculation
so
for
to not be
proof.
emasculated. Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're feeling emasculated by these sorts of, when you say, I'm going to be vulnerable and honest with you, and you say, oh, fuck, you're such a pussy. My vag is dried. I'm going to go screw the guy next door. It's like, we get really injured by that stuff. That is not okay. Here are the ways to be emasculation proof. Okay, ready?
Emasculation proof.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Always treat women with respect. Okay. Number 2, if your wife or girlfriend says something with which you disagree or you don't want to do, say so.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You have as much say in so-called women's issues as women do.
Okay.
I want to tell this writer to shut the fuck up. Recognize that your desire to prove you're a new age man will likely undermine your needs as a man. Don't be overly accommodating and wind up frustrated. You will almost certainly lash out in other ways from stifling your true self.
I don't even understand.
Learn to say no to women.
I don't understand this. Do you
Retain
understand?
your male friends. It's written by a woman. And she doesn't understand what men are experiencing right now. She just does not get it. And men are feeling, men want to do what's right. And we want to protect, and we want to be
I think it's rooted in a good thing.
All good things.
Yeah.
But we want to be valued and appreciated more than anything else. And if you tell us to be valued and appreciated, we need to be more open and vulnerable and try to tell, do like this guy that dried the vag up, talk about how you're feeling and your insecurities. Nope. Turns out you can't be appreciated if you do that. Women are not.
Women won't want to bang you, and that's the whole point.
And men experience being loved and wanted and valued through sex.
Yes, through physical, through touch, and it's
through sex.
True
Through
though,
sex.
through sex. But it is true because when you think about it, the sex act for a woman, it really puts us in the most vulnerable of positions. Mm-hmm. Like I can get pregnant by doing that.
Yeah.
Biologically, that should be your most kept thing.
Yes. Yes.
It isn't now culturally, but
generally you're wired up for that.
And so I understand. So let's read the comments because I now I'm understanding. Could highlight what you just did. This one was interesting. Never ever be, quote, vulnerable near a woman. It will be used against you. That is what one man said, John Julian
But that may or may not be true, but just how about the fact that somebody's made him feel that way?
This is why men don't open up. It's met with criticism and insults, so we just keep it inside.
So they pile on. I mean, what happens when your female friends start to get on a pity pot? How do women respond to that?
Oh, it's like, that's fuel for awesome time. I personally don't.
Is it you're great, you're wonderful, you're beautiful? Is there a lot of feedback that way? Or do you then turn around and go, God, that bitch is she drives me crazy with that stuff?
Yeah, there's some
both.
of that.
So it's both. So you go, do you know how awful that is?
Yeah.
It's both. So you go.
Yeah, you're validated for being a whiner.
You're beautiful, you're wonderful, come on, you're great. And then you go to your real friends and say, I can't stand that bitch, she's tiring me out.
God, suck it up. Or you talk shit
You
about.
certainly don't need that from a man.
No. Oh, right. And then when your boyfriend does it, you're like,
oh,
what the fuck? Like, is he growing a vag too? I guess.
His vag must be dry also.
See, but I understand male frustration because it's like biologically for hundreds and thousands of years, you guys.
Millions.
Right. You're wired to be more stoic because you're out fucking hunting and like killing animals.
And we literally don't have the same degree of connectivity to the emotional centers in the brain and stuff. And puberty, testosterone dampens a lot of that too. It just
sensitivity,
does.
yes.
Yeah, it just does.
I mean, I see it with my husband even when I'll be like, hey, do you think you could do X, Y? Like, I noticed that maybe you didn't, can you do more? Like, I can see him get defeated. Like, oh no, I failed.
Yeah.
I failed somehow. Like, I see it defeat him and I'm like, oh no, like I didn't mean for that to deflate you. I just was like, we would love to have you do this thing with us or whatever.
Can you be a little more specific?
Yeah, like, oh God, I don't want to throw him under a bus.
Yeah, don't throw him under the bus, but the more specific you be,
like,
the more.
Okay, like for instance, it's Sunday and generally that's a family day and maybe he's made plans without saying something in advance. And
probably he's heard you say, honey, you need to take care of yourself more. Go hang out with your friends. He's probably heard that too.
Mixed messages.
And then when you do it, then you're like, oh my God, I can't win. The I can't win feeling is the worst thing in the world for a man.
That's what it is.
Powerlessness is not a good feeling.
That's what it is. The I can't win. Yeah. And I'm like, I know I gave you mixed messages. So
we don't deal well with that.
No.
You just give us the message, we go. It's just, I think everything with the male is linear.
I know.
Not whole, not holistic, linear. So you got to go A, B, C, D.
Well, I've decided I'd just make his calendar for him.
Sure.
And then be like, look, these are just non-negotiable family things. And you do you around family stuff. Because I think he's so over inundated with like stuff anyway.
It is. Look, I look back at my workaholism years and I've got, what's the matter?
No, I'm just saying that because Tom's in it.
You're crestfallen, I know.
Yeah, because it sucks. It's so harsh.
I have two or three different reactions. One is, I have multiple reactions. One is I had to do that.
Yes,
it's who I am.
You have to make hay too.
It is defining of who I was and am and what I can give back now and things.
Yes.
And because of it, I had an extraordinary experience that physicians aren't even getting today. You don't even see the broad range of human clinical experience that I saw. Number one. Number two, I do not know how my wife put up with it. I do not understand it, but I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
So he'll be grateful. My kids express resentment to this day. You weren't there when this happened and that happened. And he'll get that. And that's something you have to deal with. And you do the best you can. You work around that. And I was still there plenty. I just wasn't as much as I would like to have been. And I was workaholic. But I just think you have to do it when you can.
I think so too. It's a no-win, dude.
Correct.
It's a no-win.
That's right. You can't get it perfect.
You can't get it perfect. It's fine. You deal with it.
There's going to be some sacrifice. Can we talk about hormones? Is it appropriate to talk about that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Susan, who's on testosterone replacement and has changed her life, now goes, oh, I understand. Like, oh, that's what you've been dealing with. Oh, I get a little bit now. I kind of get it.
Because it
puts her brain in somewhat of a different state.
Yes, because men are like, it's too messy when a woman is like all over the place, right? Emotionally.
We can contain things. We're good at that. We're being kind of a container, but then if we're going to spend the time containing, we want to solve.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
It's just how we're set up. I mean, I'm not saying that all men are that way. We're not saying everybody's anything. Please, no letters.
So that's the other part to this discussion is that not all women are like that woman, are like that caller.
No.
I think somebody who's more emotionally immature is going to go like, ew, gross, don't bring me your problems. But if you're in a long-term committed...
Long-term relationships are different. It's true.
Yeah.
They're different.
I welcome the
some of
inner
that.
dialogue.
Yeah.
I welcome his emotional
But then
landscape.
again, you don't want to be like carrying him. You don't want to do that.
Nobody wants to carry
and
another.
no man wants to be in that position either. But what the reason I reacted the way I did in that video also is that when we get to in a long-term relationship, when we get to that point, we need you.
Yeah.
We really need you, and we'll get through this. But for a moment, we're going to need to be carried for a second.
Yes.
And when we get on the other side, we'll happily carry you. But when we're getting into that, an average man who gets into that kind of mode, it's because he's really in trouble.
He's really
struggling.
messed up.
And it's usually, as I think about it, it's usually who he is in the world. Something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Am I good enough? Am I going to be okay? Am I going to, am I really not good at my whatever? We want to be appreciated. We want to have a place in the world and be able to do things that are worthwhile. And when that gets threatened, we start to really feel bad about ourselves.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
It's weird.
I guess women don't know what to do with that. I would argue well, if this guy is this way,
Well, I think
and
sometimes
then
when
he
you
switches, you're like, what's going on here?
Right. I was going to say, I've noticed that in Susan, when I do get to that, when I have been in that place, she gets panicky.
Right, because you're
It's
like, you're the strong one. You can't do this to me.
Yes, and which is not helpful. It's just, which is also not helpful. But I get it, and it makes us feel worse. Like you're right, we're not supposed to be here. And sometimes it snaps us out of it, frankly. Sometimes it gets us out of it. But sometimes we just need to know that we're okay, that we're good enough. And I think more than anything, problem solving, you could help us problem solving and reality testing. I think where our reality testing is not that good. How if something goes wrong, we sort of feel not worthwhile very easily, I think. Yeah.
Christina, why do women then ask men to open up if that's not what they actually want?
Because I think women, we want you to be like chicks. We want you to.
Except you don't.
Hold on. Right.
Yeah.
We want you to. You guys are rolling on this, right? We want to connect with you the way that we do our girlfriends and our mothers and everyone else in our lives. So then we get upset, like, well, why can't you just talk and think the way I do? Like, my way is the better way. Why don't you just talk like me and be like me? And then you do, and it's not attractive. This is true.
Now, that's the part where men get very, very confused. So why would you want something? We're very,
I know.
When we want something, it's because we find it attractive. That's it. And we're still attracted to it when we get it.
I mean,
why would you want something that then turns you off, quite literally?
I think because, and I'm trying to, honestly, this doesn't apply in my current, I'm trying to think back to when I was in my 20s and I was like this.
Yes.
And because it is an immature female trait, it is not a mature woman's.
I think
it's
that's
a girl's
true.
trait.
I think that's true. And you've noticed that caller that sparked all this was younger.
She's a girl.
Yeah.
She's not a woman. A woman understands that men and women are humans with wide ranges of emotions and whatever. So as a girl, I'm trying to think back to the super sensitive ones I did date, because I was into sensitive feeling guys. The problem is that it was too much for me.
Yes.
And it leaks into, it was too needy, too much.
Well, so let's look at it.
Too feminine.
Everything
feminine.
That's right. So everything in humans and in biology generally, you can sort of ask the question, what would be the evolutionary reason for that? Why would women have evolved in such a way that they would even demand that from a man?
Demand which?
Demand
masculine?
the feelings to open up, even though it would cause them to not like them. Is it to know what the man might be? They feel like the man's hiding something and they're trying to get at the information so they can develop strategies to sort of keep the man? Or,
right.
Or is it to push the male away in some way? Is there some impulse there?
Women communicate verbally. This is our primary way. Women are verbal. So if you're not verbal, if you're not verbal back, it can signify trouble.
So you're just looking for reassurance then?
Possibly.
And then we reassure
That's kind of
you.
what I found. Is like being asked to open up. It's either at that moment I'm either not thinking anything in particular, or if I do open up, it's not exactly what they want to hear. They want to hear something that reafirms what they're thinking.
Yeah,
but they might get
Chad's
upset
got
at what I actually am feeling at that moment.
Chad's got it. That's onto something there, because what you're really doing is going,
Are we okay?
Are you okay?
Are we okay? Are
Is
we
this
okay? Are we
union
okay?
safe? Am I safe with you? Am I stable with you?
Why don't you just ask that?
It looks weak.
So what do we care?
It's unattractive.
To you, to us, it doesn't even register.
Do you love me, Dr.
I think it's a little whiny is one thing. Whiny gets a little tough.
Do you love me anymore?
But to go,
how gross is that? Does that make your dick shrink or what? Do you love me anymore?
I tell you what makes the dicks grow is go, I miss having sex with you. I worry we're not having a connection the way we should. You be in bed in 2 seconds.
I know.
That's all.
I know.
We're very simple.
We need to connect. I feel like we're
very
disconnected.
simple. We're very simple. Just bring it back to the penis. We're fine. We're
dick touches. Dick touches. You know what's so funny? I'm glad you found that. We'll play it in a second. Is that I read this book because I found it on TikTok. This Ukrainian girl and her mother. She's like, my mother is always right, and she reads the rules. It's like this the rules. Have you heard of this book?
From way back when?
Yeah. And I read the rules of marriage because I was like, my mom is the same way. Eastern European women are trained this fucking book. I'm telling you, it's
that book.
The rules, yeah.
No, this was old.
Rules.
This was from like the 80s, I think.
Yes, but I'm saying that Eastern European women are trained. This is how Eastern European women are raised.
This right now, if you brought that into a Institute of Higher Learning in this country, I think somebody would murder you. I think.
However, I will say I gave it a glean, and I was like, check, yeah, right. So like, first one of them was like, sex is on the man's schedule. Give your husband sex when he wants it, and I was like, yeah.
If you would like him to be happy and stay connected to him.
That's all he fucking needs,
otherwise,
bro.
he will start to get weird and brood and get unhappy.
Exactly. So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with fucking him when he wants to fuck?
They go, what if I don't want to, or it's my body, or blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's true. It is all you, and you're going to have an irritable guy on your hands.
Good luck. Yeah. If all he needs is to get his dick milked, have a fucking sandwich, a Coke and a smile, and watch the football game, that's all you have to do, and you can't fucking do that, you shouldn't be married.
What does that book say about burping and farting?
Oh, that's probably verboten.
Did you like that highlight? I mean, how much fun was that? Why don't you watch a bunch more? We made a bunch more for you to watch. And then why don't you subscribe to my show? Subscribe to Where My Mom's At. That way, every time I drop an episode, you just get it. You don't have to think about it. And then hit the notification bell so you can get notified of all the great stuff that I make. Watch other highlight. Treat yourself. Get your life right.